Thank you very much. The British Council, the members from the British Council, the Green Movement of Sri Lanka, Lanka Social Ventures, and also from the government side, Export Development Board, National Innovation Agency, and also, I think, University of Highlands and Islands from Scotland. And also, all the young entrepreneurs selected for this program, I think, congratulations. I think you were selected from a very large number of applications, that is what I heard. So let me give you a brief into, I have about 30 minutes to talk about. I have given a long topic. So I'll talk about that as well. Nurturing green and inclusive entrepreneurship among youth, contributing to a sustainable future through innovation and collaboration. So it's a bit too long, maybe difficult to understand that. So what I realized first, if you can understand the sustainability mindset or the green mindset in the real meaning, right? Not the meaning that a lot of people talk about, you can connect to the topic that I was given, right? So a lot of places, I think in Sri Lanka, even globally, we see that a lot of companies, corporates, they do a lot of programs. For example, they might go and plant a tree, right, as an organization, and they say that we are sustainable, right? And some organizations might go and do a beach cleanup and say that we are sustainable, right? After working on a lot of things throughout the year, and in one fine day, they might go and do a planting a tree or doing a beach cleanup and say that we are sustainable. So this is not the sustainability mindset that you should have, right? So that's what I want to correct during my little introduction here. Sustainability is a lifestyle, right? If you don't understand the core concepts of sustainability, you won't understand this, right? So throughout the year, you might do all sort of things as an individual or as a corporate, and doing a bit and piece of green things won't make you a sustainable person, right? That you have to understand. So now I will explain what is my definition of sustainability, right? So my definition of sustainability is very in simple form. If you can do the same output with less resources, right? You are living in a world with 8 billion population, right? So you can't stop cutting trees, by the way. You have to cut trees, right? Because you need wood, you need everything, you need energy. You need petroleum as well, right? You need a certain amount of that up to the next 20, 30 years, right? But if you can reduce the consumption, right, of all the resources can be even human resources as well. For example, if you can do the same task with less human resources, still I would say it's sustainability, right? So someone might say, now that's an idea to cut jobs, right? It won't happen like that, right? I mean, people talk about AI, right? AI will cut a lot of jobs. No, it won't happen like that. The same argument was there 100 years ago when the whole industrial revolution came. A lot of people thought we might lose jobs. It didn't happen like that, right? There will be a lot of other opportunities for a lot of people. But if you can do the same task, same work, same output, or same amount of dollars or rupees income with less resources, that is the true meaning of sustainability. So I'll explain that. Maybe a bit difficult for you to understand. I'll give you one example. I'll go back to a few areas that I was involved during my career. I'll go to one good example. I will go to the, So just to explain, I don't know whether you have heard about this, the World Overshoot Day. Have you heard about this concept? Right, so World Overshoot Day is that globally people have identified that we have 8 billion population globally, and they need certain amount of resources. It could be natural resources, it could be a lot of other things as well, for them to survive. And they have identified this is the amount that they need to use, but to sustain that, this is the maximum amount that our planet Earth can give. So if you go to 1970s, or rather before 1971, the global population was using the same amount that can sustain the Earth. That was up to 1970. But since 1970, you can see, so for example, if globally the Earth can give this much of resources for whatever number of population, that whatever the population that was there in those days, use that until the 31st of December. So they can restart the next year with the mindset that you have not overused anything from the planet Earth. But look at the graph. From 1971, we have been overusing the planet Earth and the resources. If you go to 2023, by 31st of July, we have used whatever the resources that were there for that year by 31st of July. So what it means is by after 31st of July, we are using the resources for the next year. So if you look at the graph, you can see that from 1971, we have used so much of resources that is belong to not the present population, but in the future population, right? So this is what is meant by world overshoot. So we have been, that particular day, the world overshoot day, is declining every year. So it was way back in 1970s, it was 31st of July, 31st of December. Maybe in 1990s, it was in somewhere in September, but last year it was 31st of July, 2023. So we don't know what 2024, maybe it's June or July, early July, right? So basically we are using probably 70 to 80% more than what we can consume as a 8 billion population. So this is the meaning of World Overshoot Day, right? Okay, so have you heard about this figure? 1.5 Celsius figure, I think you have heard about this, right? Right? A lot of people have talked about this, but have you heard about the other 1.5? So 1.5 Celsius is a figure, I think you have heard about this famous speeches by various people, that they have identified the global temperature, right? Global temperature is increasing, right? And it's increasing, slowly but surely it's increasing. And then they have done a scientific calculation, but if it increased by certain, standard value to 1.5 Celsius more, there can be irreversible damages to the planet Earth. So what are these irreversible damages? Number one, you will lose the entire coral reef. Global coral reef will vanish when it increases up to 1.5 Celsius, right? That was proven. Then 18% of the insect communities will vanish from Earth, right? So these are irreversible things that you can't recover back, right? No matter what you do after that, you can't recover that, right? And there are so many natural disasters that can happen. I think you heard about the global warming. Global warming happens in different formats. Some places actually will go, temperature will go up. Some places, temperature will go down. So places that, have a lot of rain will have more rain. Places that have no rain will have even less rain. So that is how it impacts. If you understand the science behind it, you will understand in detail. It's not about the temperature, but when the temperature goes up, on average, there are a lot of climate-related changes are happening. So this is the topic of this 1.5 Celsius, and we call it global warming. But then this 1.5 C is given because there's a limitation. If you go beyond that, certain things you can't reverse. No matter how much of money that you pump in, you can't reverse that. And to sustain the global, whatever that we do, all the developments, all that, but within this 1.5 Celsius, what they have identified is globally they have to put about 1.5 trillion US dollars to stop certain things happen. So this is the figure that you have to be very mindful. And for all the entrepreneurs here, it's a fantastic figure. So whatever that you do on green entrepreneurship, right? Anything that you do, it can be even starting from planting a tree, right? Or getting into sustainable technologies, solar, to all this. You have 1.5 trillion US dollars at any given year. It was there in 2023. Even this year, we have 1.5 trillion US dollars hovering around at various governments, industries, under entrepreneurs, companies, NGOs. They have this amount of money. So this is the largest amount of investment fund that you can get at the moment. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to get this money, right? Even Sri Lanka doesn't know how to get this money. Having all this wonderful country that we have, because we didn't go through the industrial revolution, right, in the proper way. Sri Lanka didn't go through that, right? But a lot of countries who went through that industrial revolution, now they are thinking how we can reverse that. Like for example, the countries, even Japan now thinking about how we can get back or reduce the pollution to everything that they did. But Sri Lanka didn't go through that yet. So then we have a wonderful opportunity. We can stop going to the industrial revolution, but we can go to we can leapfrog to the next level without going into the industrial revolution. So a lot of people talking about that we should build factories, we should build all this in Sri Lanka. We don't have to go through all that. That is something that a past generation somewhere in Europe or USA or some other country they did it, and they now realized that's not the way. There are better revolutions to come. Example, the fourth industrial revolution. We don't call it, we call it that, but it's a very sustainable model, right? You don't have to build factories and factories and factories to build fourth industrial revolution. But those are the areas that Sri Lanka can really go into. And some of the countries that we have seen, they are trying to green their cities, right? Planting trees and all that. We already have a green city, one of the greenest cities in the planet, called Colombo. Green in the sense, I'm talking about the real value. Of course, lot of places have been polluted, but Sri Lanka, I think you would know, Colombo is the only Ramsar wetland city in the world, right? And one of the 16 wetland cities in the world, right? But a lot of people don't know. I mean, that itself is a fantastic proposition for you to market Colombo city as a tourism industry for anything, right? But I don't know, I have never seen that anywhere in Sri Lanka that we use that as a marketing tool to bring tourists, to bring people. And we were all talking about, how you can reduce that Ramsar wetlands within Sri Lanka and beyond, right? I heard that, a few years back, they were talking about, putting up some buildings in various areas within Colombo, right? So those were the topics to talk about development. So development is not that. Development can happen in keeping the sustainable landscape as it is as well. So let me go to the next slide. I just want to give a brief about what I have been doing. Of course, my partner Hasank also there. So these are some of the things that we did. Turu is one of my organizations developing a lot of projects all around Sri Lanka. So this picture on the right-hand side is one of the projects that we are doing. We are doing a 50-acre reforestation project south of Singharaja forest area. I think the mountain range is Singharaja. This is a tea plantation, which is already neglected tea plantation that we are turning back into a forest. Right now it's about 50 acres. But the idea is that we have done a 6 months to 9 month study, a biodiversity study, looking at Singharaja and this region, and what we are creating here is something exactly similar to Singharaja. That's the project is all about. It's not about just planting trees, a lot more than that. Just to start off only, we took about 9 months to understand the climate, understand what it is. But this was, if you look at it, say 100 years ago, this was anyway Singharaja, about 100 years ago. Singharaja was actually, 100 years ago, it was starting from Kagalla to Mathara, it was Singharaja, right? Everything changed in the last 100 years, right? But now Singaraj is a 88 square kilometer area, which you can see at the head of the mountains there. The big mountains that on the right-hand side is called the Gongala, the highest point in southern province. And that is the point where, if you stand there on the top of the mountain, you will see wind coming to you, right? A lot of wind. It's a windy location. Myself and Hasanka, we have climbed that many a times in the last couple of months. The wind that comes to you is the wind coming from the Antarctica. This is the first point when the Antarctic wind goes up to the 3,000 feet height, which is where the place that you get the rain clouds usually generate, right? This is the first point, right? There are no other point. We are the southernmost tip in that entire area, and this is where you get the rain clouds created, and that's the reason why we have a rainforest or a primary rainforest like Singaraj, because of this mountain range, right? So, and if you, I don't want to pinpoint the exact location in this mountain range. There are small places you will see endemic, we call it point endemic species. Point endemic in the sense you can't even find them in the rest of the Singaraj also. It's a point endemic. Maybe in a 1 square kilometer you will have certain creatures, flora and fauna, you will see only in that location only. So that is why this Singaraj rainforest is known as the second best biodiversity hotspot in the world after Amazon, right? In Asia is the number 1, right? So then what we wanted to see was, we want to stop people going to Singaraj. Even going to Singaraj is few people going there is okay, but if a lot of people start going there, that's the problem. So we wanted to create a Singharaja outside Singharaja. So that's the whole idea of what we are trying to do here. We got funding from various sources, companies, organizations, and this is Brown's Plantation. They graciously gave us 50-acre land, and in fact, we have the chance of increasing that as well. So that's why I said, it's not about just planting a tree. You have to think about a lot more than that. Then zero trash, again, another initiative that we started, but then we realized, which we started was basically, what we understood was, plastic is a huge problem. I think this location, you might have seen it. We have seen in our own naked eyes that 800 tons of garbage comes every day to this location. 800 tons, that's about 800 lorries, right? And there's no end to that. Every day you can see, right? But then, with all that, we still see a lot of plastic or a lot of other trash everywhere. What was the reason? So we wanted to identify what is the reason behind this. Obviously, the number 1 and number 2 reasons are that we are not reusing, right? So, or we are not reducing. So that's the main reason, right? Every day we are using more, right? So we have to stop that. Then there's another R, as you know, reusing and reducing. The other R is recycling. So a lot of people talks about recycling. But what we understood at the end of the day, myself and Hasanka, that recycling is not the solution. Even though people talks about so highly about recycling, recycling also is a farce, right? You can't recycle and solve this issue. This you can't reduce. No matter how much of them, globally it's proven, recycling doesn't make sense. Everywhere it's less than 10% that is done recycling. Sri Lanka is about 2 to 3%. So recycling is not the solution. But what we can do is, if we can focus more on reducing and reusing, then the recycling technologies can manage whatever the excess of garbage that you can see everywhere. But if you don't correct the first two, recycling is a farce. So any startups, any organization thinking about recycling, think twice. Recycling itself will not solve this, right? So I'll go to the next one. Okay, again, this is another initiative that I started with a few of other. So we realized this, the whole, the sustainability mindset word that I want to tell you. why this particular figure is there. This is, I think you know what is it, right? It's cinnamon, right? Sri Lanka is known for cinnamon for 2,000 years, right? Since the time of the pharaohs' time, in the Egyptian pharaohs. Egyptian pharaohs used cinnamon brought from Sri Lanka for their mummification process. That was there in their records, right? And they somehow, or Sri Lankan kings or whoever, managed to send the cinnamon to those countries. But unfortunately, what we see is, we still send the cinnamon after 2,000 years later in the same way, same format, right? Majority of cinnamon exports from Sri Lanka, if you look at, we will see that cinnamon, what we export is the same thing, which we used to export 2,000 years back, the same thing, right? So where is the sustainability part here? That if you want to take Sri Lanka about, if to get the sustainable model, so one might say, we have thousands and thousands of acres, still there. We can start growing cinnamon all over the country and let's export. Because where do you get cinnamon other than Sri Lanka? What are the other countries that you get cinnamon other than Sri Lanka? China, somebody said China, okay? So Sri Lanka is the only country with true cinnamon. There is no other country. Unfortunately, like India, they have started. Seychelles, they have started, but very recently. But up to the very recent times, Sri Lanka is the only country with cinnamon. It's an endemic plant of Sri Lanka, right? This particular Cinnamomacum verum, this particular variety, right? What you find in China, what you find in Indonesia, what you find in India is something called cassia. It's different. So this is how you should think about sustainability. Now, one might argue, right? The same is applicable for tea also. Now, for example, tea. We have 500,000 acres of tea, right? So we get 1.3 billion US dollars from tea industry. So one might say, let's grow 1 million acres of tea and make 2.6 billion US dollars. Is it sustainable? Right? It's not sustainable. But if you can make same 1.3 billion from the same land, 500,000 acres, that's sustainable. So that is sustainable mindset, not something else, right? And if you can reduce the tea land further, and if you can still earn 1.3 billion US dollars, that's even more sustainable. So this is the sustainability that you are talking about. This can be done. How do you do it? How do you do it? Can you make more than 1.3 trillion US dollars from 500 or from the same land? Can you do that? How do you do it? Value addition. So value addition, innovation, collaboration, right? That's the words given to me for this speech. These are how you can create a sustainable world is through only those three only. But for that, you need to have the innovation in place, you have to have the value additions, you have to have the collaborations. Now Sri Lanka talks very highly about tea, right? But you ask that question from someone in China, right? Because we talks about tea only 150 years, right? That also came from, it came very recently. But if you look at China, it's 5,000-year-old product, right? And if you go to China, you will see 5,000 different types of products that are used from the same tea plant. But in Sri Lanka, we still do the same very typical product. Obviously, there are certain innovations are now happening. Dilma is doing a lot of innovations, but very few organizations doing it. Cinnamon sorry also the same. So we don't have that many cinnamon lands in the country, but a lot of people now started growing cinnamon, which is good, but it may not be very sustainable. Sustainability comes when we look at getting the same amount of income with less resources. And for that, we need the innovations, value additions, and a lot of other collaborations, right? The cinnamon story, if you take a lot of very high value products globally, one of the main sources is cinnamon. I think you know Chanel 5, the perfume. The #1 ingredient is Ceylon cinnamon, right? There are a lot of other medicinal products that we don't even know. The source is cinnamon. Cinnamon bark oil has about 32 different compounds. 32 different compounds. We only talk about cinnamaldehyde only, right? But there are 31 other compounds, right? Some of the compounds can mimic insulin, which we've even not done any research on that, in Sri Lanka at least, right? So that could be a medicinal product. That could be a drug to cure the fourth biggest reason on earth for human deaths, which is diabetes, right? Nobody has even thought about it. So that's why we started this organization called 3H, looking for a cure for diabetes using Sri Lankan products. So I'm just saying that, if you can do that, that idea itself is sustainable, because you can earn more dollar income from the same product without wasting too much of natural resources. So from the same land, we can make more money. So I'll go to the next topic also, which I was involved since 2019 to 21. Again, I'm taking this example for you to understand what is sustainability mindset, right? Sri Lanka is known for graphite. Graphite comes in different formats. There are 3 or 4 different variations of graphite. But Sri Lanka has this particular variation called vein graphite, right? Which is only found in Sri Lanka only, right? It's like huge granite structures. If you look from above the sky, it looks like your vein. The structure, the granite structure is like the vein. That's why we call vein graphite, right? Just like the granite, it's the one big cube of graphite, right? And you won't find that anywhere in the world, only Sri Lanka, right? And people say it's 99% pure. But the issue is, being 99% pure doesn't make any sense in the industry. Right? That's what we have to understand. Now, Sri Lanka used to have about 150 graphite mines in the turn of 20th century, way back in 1915. Some of the richest people back in Sri Lanka were graphite mine owners, right? A lot of big families, even political big families those days were graphite owners. Now we have only 3 graphite mines in Sri Lanka, and out of that 3, only 2 is operational. One is owned by the government of Sri Lanka, Kahataga. The other one is Bogala, 98% owned by a German company called GK Graphite. But that's not my point, right? So if you go to Kahataga, we have, now it has been mining for the last many years, 100 years, maybe 200 years. The real mine is now about 2,000 feet below the ground level, 2,000 feet below the ground level. So it's about hundreds of miners in Sri Lanka working day and night, right? Taking this graphite out. Yes, it's 100% pure, or rather 99% pure, so we have a good demand, we sell it, right? Sell it as it is, mostly. And we earn certain amount of money. Say Kahataga graphite earns roughly about $1 billion, I think, in Sri Lankan rupee terms. 840,000, yeah, it's about, 1 billion Sri Lankan rupees. In dollar terms, you can calculate that. And that amount is just enough to pay the salaries of people who are working in the Kahataga mine and to pay the overheads. That's it. So imagine many people working day and night with such difficult working conditions, right? Imagine working in 2,000 feet down, earning the amount just to pay their salaries. Is it sustainable? Sustainable for them? Is it sustainable for the country? Because we say that we are earning money, but nothing, right? The amount that we earn would be enough to buy 3 or 4 diesel tankers, right? 1 diesel tank is enough for 10 days for Sri Lanka, right? So they do all that. We talk about graphite really highly, but that whatever the amount that we are earning is enough for maybe 3 or 4 weeks for Sri Lanka to survive, right? So is it sustainable? But then we came up with this So that's why I put the picture, Slintech, Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology. We came up with the technology, the Sri Lankan technology to value add graphite. So we came up with the model. This is the largest graphene factory in South Asia as of now. Now we are talking with India, we are talking with Australia, and we are talking with UAE governments to put up similar plants all over the world. So this is, the technology is Sri Lankan, the engineers are also from Sri Lanka, right? And what we did was, our proposition is this, right? So we don't want the same people who are working 24 hours a day, 365 days, they don't have to work that much to earn the same amount of dollars. So the proposition what we gave was, if you work 2 days and gave us the same amount of graphite that they mine within 2 days, that is enough for us to pay their salaries entire year, if we produce graphene. So that is what I call sustainability. Not that we are asking them to, don't work or go home. No. You work for 2 days, and we will make sure that you earn the same amount of dollars. Right? There are two things happen, right? You work less. The other one is, even the graphite mine also, it's a natural resource. It will be reduced over a time, right? So if you mine more, for example, we had 115 mines 150 years ago. So the government could have said, okay, let's start all of that. But then at the end of the day, we will lose that natural resources one fine day, right? But if we can keep the natural resources as it is and still make the same amount of dollars, so that is what you call sustainability. I'll give you another example. Sri Lanka has paddy fields, right? That is our staple food, right? But have you realized that we only need 30% of the paddy field to feed the entire nation? I mean, if you go out, you will see so many paddy fields all around Sri Lanka, but actually if you do it right, we need only 30% of that. So we waste a lot of our agricultural output as a percentage is one of the worst. Efficiency is one of the worst, right? So we need only 30% of paddy field land to feed the entire 20 million population, right? To tell you the truth, we don't need paddy fields in Western Province. Western Province could have been used for much better things, right? Just having the Ampara, Polonnaruwa and Kurunegala paddy fields more than enough for Sri Lanka to survive. So we use too much of land for agriculture. Our efficiency in agriculture is very low. So these are the things that we need to think. Your sustainability mindset is about that, right? It's not about anything. Planting a tree is not sustainability. Cleaning a beach is not sustainability. You can do it as exercise, like a joint exercise to, for everyone. But real sustainability, real sustainable mindset is make sure that you do get the same output with less resources, right? So if these young entrepreneurs can think about it, and that's what we need to do. That comes with innovation, collaboration, and a lot of other things. So I think this program, we will try to make sure that you understand that is better, and that is what we need to take, not only you, but beyond you, your families too, and also maybe the big corporates in Sri Lanka also should learn that. The whole idea of sustainability is that. So that's what I want to highlight. Thank you very much. I hope I was helpful. Think about it. There's a lot of science behind this sustainable idea, sustainable mindset. So I think you have to learn that. I'm not saying about getting a degree in science. No, this is the knowledge is everywhere. You need to understand the science behind sustainability. Thank you very much.